Welcome, Sunil. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time out. And just so
Thank
you know,
you.
it was an honor serving you. It was an honor working with you. For people who are
Thank
watching,
you.
uh, uh, Sunil, we call him Yuvraj Singh. Six balls, six sixers. So Sunil was one of the examples where he did six applications, six interviews, and six admits. Sunil, my first question for you. I work with a lot of people, okay? But it's very
Yeah.
unlikely for people to do what you did. The six out of six. And if there is a learning that everybody could get from there, if there's a secret sauce that people could get from there, in order to have that conversion rate, please share it. How did you do it? What was the secret behind it?
So I have to correct you once, Jatin. So it was not 6 interviews and 6 success. It was 7 interviews and 7 success. So you don't remember this. 1 year after I joined my college, I actually reached out to you for my campus interview. And I am still working for the same firm since then. So that was also thanks to you. And
You have seven out of
so
seven out of seven. Seven.
Yeah. So that is one thing that it's not a secret sauce. I know there's some sort of very simple answer would be right. Just practice and just keep doing. Writing it down, reading it, and recording yourself, trying to kind of hear it. But it's not just that. Oftentimes, one of the things that I learned from you was that when an interviewer asks you a question, very simply, it's more about what do they want to hear. It's not about what the answer is or what the right answer is. It's what's the context of that question. So one of the things that I learned when I remember when I was working on the brag sheet, and I was thinking, why would I answer 3 stories for each question? Why do I need to put in four, examples of strength when you ask for one or two? So and it just struck to me as I attended interviews and various interviews that oftentimes they ask the same question in a different context at different stages of the interview. So the first question would be tell me your strength, and you would go, oh, my strength is teamwork and hard work. And then 4 questions down the line, they would ask you, tell me about a time when you had a problem with your team. And you would go, oh, I just put my foot down and I said, this is how it's done. And I made sure everybody does it. You are contradicting yourself between the first question and the last question. So in my opinion, it should always be about the consistency of the message. You are going in to an interview with sort of one singular message, which is that I'm good at this. And that could be anything. Individually, it could be you're good at, analytical skills. You're good at, working hard. You're good at, working with the team. You're good at, solving complex problems. You're good at breaking down problems and defining it. The answer could be anything, but your message from the first question, which is tell me about yourself, to the very last question saying, do you have anything to ask me about? Between that, all through it, your consistent message should be that you are enforcing what you want them to know about you, which is I'm good at this. And in my experience, having written the brag sheet, having talked to you, done multiple interviews, was that one thing that I realized that I was probably good at was working with clients. And that client could be anybody. It could be your official working client, it could be your boss, it could be your teammates. But the message was that I'm good at working with clients. And that's what I tried to incorporate throughout the interview. At every point of time, every question was that you had the word client, you had enforced that answer, so that when somebody comes out of it and says, okay, I need to write 2 lines about Sunil, then it would be, oh, he's great with people. And which means that if he's great with people, he's going to be good in a team. He's going to be good within, a work environment, or within a college, within your batch, within your teammates in an MBA program. And that's what needs to be conveyed. And so I would say that consistency of message across the interview would be your number one thing that somebody needs to focus on, outside of obviously practicing and recording yourself, trying to limit your answers to 1.5 minutes, preparing multiple answers, so that when you get that googly, you have a story which might be about hard work, but you have a story about that time which you can I'm not saying change the meaning of it, but just align it to a question about teamwork. You're still putting the hard work, but now you're answering a teamwork question in the same context. So, I mean, that's how I see it. And to be honest, I have done a ton of mock interviews every time. With you, I remember even for my for my campus recruitment, I did like 20 interviews for each round. Uh, Bugged you as well. So imagine if I could reach out to you a year later and say, hey, help me with this. I would have reached out to a lot of people, and everybody is happy to help if you ask them. So that is what I would say would be the one singular aspect of trying to be successful at an interview. I'm sure I've failed a lot of interviews and not done well, but at least I've come out of it saying, this is my message. You might not like it. This is who I am. And if the firm or the MBA program is not aligned to you, or if they already have a person who has that skill set, you are not going to fit in. You're not going to be the funny guy. You don't want 10 people in your team in an MBA program. Everybody's funny. Nobody does the work. You want that one funny guy who kind of makes the team work well together. But at the same time, you need somebody who's analytically strong. You need somebody who's technically strong. Somebody who's good at presentation. Somebody who's good at, breaking down and problem solving and structuring it. So it's best is to be left to the recruiter. But you need to be yourself. You need to present. I know it's very easy to say be yourself and all, but when you practice and when you write your brag sheet and when you come up with all stories in your career prior to, either joining your MBA or any interview for that matter, if you look back and you say, what is that one or two things that, makes me who I am, that's probably would be the best path to any sort of successful interview.
Can I also tell you one thing about you? Why did you? So one of the and I say this a lot, and I think it really applies to you as well. So one of the very strong attributes that you had that took you to the current success and current state of wherever you are in life is you were very down to earth, and you were always willing to learn. You would never shy away from reaching out and saying, I acknowledge and I know I don't know this. Help me figure this out. And when you get the first level of feedback and when you come back, the incremental value of everything that you will apply, you will go back and apply everything that was given to you in feedback. So I think I learned it from one of my trainers, a leadership trainer, who said that people who are amazing leaders are amazing students as well. I think that was very, very important for you. I think that's enough about what I think about you, but I think that was a very strong thing. I wanted to ask you one thing. You had, I think, 5 admits in the US and you had Rotman in Canada. Yeah. You must have gone, I think, did you have scholarships from anywhere in the US?
I did.
You must have gone through the entire thought process of thinking between, there must have been a stage where you were thinking US or Canada or US versus schools in US versus Rotman. How did you, this is for people who consider going one or to the other countries. You were the one who took the Canadian route. Tell us why, what was the thought process?
So it was fairly simple. One of the first things I would suggest anybody who's trying to do this is look at the pros and cons list. Obviously, that would be a fundamental starting point in building a pros and cons list. And now, not to say that the colleges that I got in US were any less than the college that I eventually chose, or, they were, all of them I applied to them with the conviction that if I get in, I would join. That being said, when it came down to making that decision, there were a few points that were far more important for me personally. For example, my first thought was, do I choose the college which is, say, ranked number 3 or number 4 in a state, or in a let's say, for example, in Illinois or in Massachusetts? Do I join the 3rd or the 4th ranked college, or do I join the 1st ranked college in a country? That makes one level. That's a differentiator right itself, because when I look at it and I go, okay, I'm going to be joining a third, say, ranked college in a state, and I have to go for an interview. And within that interview, there are two other people who are sitting with me from Harvard. It's not about that my skill set or any doubt on myself, but when the interviewer looks at your resume between a Harvard guy and somebody else, and he goes, yeah, you know, I, and it's not that you don't stand a chance. If I had the opportunity to explain, sure. But what if it's just they're reviewing your resume? You would be rejected right out of the bat because you would be like, oh, I have two Harvard guys to interview. Why would I interview a third person? So, but at the same time, that was not the only condition. In addition to that, a few things that I was thinking about at that point of time was one, PR, right? In Canada, the fundamental thing was that after 2 years, you get a 3 years work permit. And within that 3 years window, you could apply for your permanent residency and you are settled. You establish yourself in the country. I was fortunate enough to be in Canada for a few months prior to my MBA, being in US for a few years. So the choice was that, okay, I want to settle down. I want to live in a country where I don't have to be afraid of, do I get my H-1B renewed? Do I go back to India if things don't work out? Versus saying, no, I'm going to be in Canada forever. And that was the second thing. And the third, I think it was a little earlier, but I was thinking more about if at any point of time I decide to get married, then US at that point of time did not offer spousal work permit. And so it was a long process. You need to get your green card. And versus in Canada, the moment you apply for your MBA, your spouse can work as well. So it was your age, it was the time I was in, and the sort of realization that I want to be in one place was more important to me than just purely saying ranking or college or the skill set. And the third, which is something that is I found common across the country, across all the colleges, which I did as an exercise, was to look at their campus recruitment firms. And I said, okay, I have my idea of a good firm, or at that point of time, I was targeting, say, the top 10 consulting firms, and I want to go into consulting. I was looking at, okay, how many of those top 10 firms come for recruitment in each of those colleges? And then it became fairly easy saying, okay, these firms don't go there. So, okay, they go in all these colleges. So the process of elimination became very easy once I started putting down my pros and cons list and saying college, recruitment, post MBA, the process of settling into a country, how easy it is. And lastly, I want to say one thing was that people, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with in US. My experience, the first 6 months in Canada versus the 2 years in US, there were so many people when I was in Canada who were helping out for no reason. You wouldn't ask them for help, but they would come out and help you. Like I remember once I was walking on a subway and I was struggling to lift a cart. I was really struggling. I was like, limping. It was cold. I couldn't lift it. I had grocery shop way too much than I could carry. And just random people came in, took the cart with me and just helped me walk across the stairs. And I was like, wow, like that was amazing to see, something that in the 2 years that I was in US, I never experienced. So it was fairly simple choice for me at that point.
And given the fact that you studied in top school in Canada, Rotman is like the rank one school in Canada, how is that helping you in post the MBA, the network? Do you have a good circle of people around? Do you know a lot of people in the business circle around? Help the viewers understand, help the future applicants understand that.
So, I mean, this is possibly true for any college. So ignoring the aspect of college differentiation, but my experience at Rotman was amazing. Like I came in completely new to the experience of learning in North America. That's one thing that people often forget. People's experience in learning in India is way, way different than your experience learning in Canada. You don't get the sort of, hand holding. You don't get a booklet and an answer. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's just a matter of learning, and it's completely different than your experience in India. But having come to Canada, having seen people who have also come with me, You know, most of my friends, there are a lot of people, we have moved along with our career together. Imagine this, like you come in when you're what, maybe 25 to 30, all your friends, like everybody who's doing that at the same age, they're going through the same sort of, you know, issues. They're getting married, they're getting engaged, they're settling down, thinking about careers, and they are taking that next step after MBA, and all of them are your friends. I mean, I spend my weekends here, even with Corona. I go, you know, try to spend with my classmates, and whenever I get a chance, because that's the family that you get in Canada. So it's very important. You don't get to choose, you know, your actual family. But in Canada, when you don't have the support system that you would have back home, you need to pick people, and that was, I was fortunate. Rotman had an amazing batch with me, in an amazing set of people. So it was very helpful, and more importantly, your seniors, you know, they used to help me. Like I had my resume reviewed so many times with my seniors, bugging them during their second year, which is far more serious and stressful. And they were happy to help. I reached out to people, and being the age that Rotman has, the kind of people you meet, like I know partners in my firm who are ex-Rotman. I know like a lot of people who and a lot of people have that avenue. Even people who get through campus, one of the first pointers they ask your seniors, hey, is this guy any good? So you would go, I mean, the network that Rotman has, you would know, or you could ask somebody saying, is that guy good? Right? And so that becomes an important factor, and helps you get into that role or that position. And oftentimes your resume is not just the only thing that people ask when you're joining a firm. It's one of the things. So when I have a resume and I know Sunil, and I'm like, oh, this guy from Rotman, I know that person from Rotman, maybe I can ask him, and maybe I have met that other person, or maybe I'm not. If I'm not met that other person, that person has met somebody else in my batch who could tell, yeah, Sunil is good. Yeah, I know him. And plus having that sort of Canadian family support and network definitely helps during these times when you don't know, anything, you can't, um, be with your own family. These are the people who become your pseudo family, and you try to spend as much time with them, and just move away from everything that else that's going on, and just focus on and being with them, trying and learning from them, and understanding what they're going through, and realizing that all of us are in the same situation. We miss our family back home, but here are our friends who are doing the same thing. They're going through the same issues. They're they're getting married. They have everything is the same for everybody, and so that helps a lot. And I think I'm just grateful that I came in a batch which had that strong sort of connection, and I'm sure every batch since then has had. I know I see photographs of my juniors with their campus college friends, and I know that everybody has a group of people that they've gotten closer with and gotten used to, and are together. They live in the same locality. Like Canada is a big country, so you have a certain section of people who are all in one area, and somebody is in downtown. There's a batch of people in downtown. So when I go downtown, I meet a few friends. When I go, when I'm here, I know people who are living nearby. It is definitely a plus point, I would say.
Tell me one thing. Most of the people who apply, majority of the people who apply, they come from families like ours, very middle class families. Not everybody has a lot of savings, and there's a psychological gap that says, can I afford an international MBA? How will I get the money? Is it worth it? Should I get loans? Where should I get the money from? And a lot of people go through this while they're preparing for GMAT. Even I get a lot of emails from people saying that, if I get in, how will I get the money? And I don't have a rich father. I don't come from a very rich family. Can you give us more understanding of how tough or how easy was it for you to manage financial aid, get loans, and how easy was it to pay the EMIs, and how did you go about it?
So yeah, I mean, one of the things that, and you're absolutely right. I went through the exact same situation. I remember I reached out to you after Rotman, and I said, and you suggested, hey, why don't you email them and explain your financial situation? And I was fortunate enough. I actually got a scholarship after I came here, after I joined, like actually after 3 months after joining Rotman, I actually got a scholarship.
Wow.
But that was actually thanks to you, because you made me send that email out saying, hey, explain your situation to them, because oftentimes what happens is offer a lot of scholarship, but certain people either chose not to join the college. There are folks who join the college and then say, you know what, I'm going to take a year break. So you could get a scholarship at that point of time, and it would work out. There are a few other things that I didn't know at that time. Had I known, it would have been a much easier decision for me to do an MBA. And in Canada, one of the things that you do get as not just Rotman MBA, but as an MBA grad or a postgraduate student, is that you get tax credit, which is basically a credit that you are paying, that you get refunded for when you actually start earning. And that is a significant amount of money. It's about $35,000 that you get back as a tax return after you finish your MBA and after you start earning and after you start paying your taxes. It's the refund that you get. I'm not saying you get $35,000 as a cash thing. Once you've paid about 10,000, you might get 10,000 back as a refund. You pay another 20,000, you get 20,000 back as a refund up to a certain point of your credit for your MBA fees. I didn't know that, right? So when I got that money back, it was like, okay, here's my India loan. You know what I mean? Like, that was the money that I paid off my India loan. And I said, done, right? It was what, second year I paid off my India loan, and I was like, oh, wow.
Wow.
Phew. Right? So then the second part of it was that Rotman offers this association with certain banks wherein you could get, I don't know how it works now, honestly. It's been a while. So don't hold me to it. But I know that Rotman had an association with a few banks around who would offer you 50% of your loan or fees as a loan. So that was great. And then again, few other things that you would learn is that if you stay in the campus accommodation, graduate house, you have a certain amount of fees. But if you share your room with a few other people, your friends, the living cost goes down completely. I know there were struggling days. I know there were days when, I would not be sure. So, oh my God, what do I call my parents and ask them for money at this point of time when they just sent it to me? Or what do I do? How do I manage the next 10 days before I ask my parents for more money, or a month before I ask them for more? So there were those situations. But once you graduate, and looking back at 6 years, the time frame since I've graduated, I don't know of anyone who hasn't been able to pay off their loan. I don't know of anyone who's struggled financially. I know people have struggled for a few years, 1 or 2 years after graduation. They've looked for a job. They found some intermediate job just to hold them over so that they can, and one of the things is the banks allow you 1 year time before you have to start making payments. So that helps, because in that 1 year, you could look for opportunities for those who weren't fortunate enough to get campus placements. So those were the kind of things I know. Speaking of it, it sounds, very easy. I know that I understand your question. I understand the concerns that people have when it comes to this. But at the same time, what I would like to say is that it will work out. It depends on why you want to do your MBA. If you want to do your MBA just because you want to add MBA next to your resume and you don't mean it, you don't want to do your MBA to progress, it's not going to work out for you. You're going to maybe find a job, but the next 2 years, you're going to be stuck at that job. You're not going to make progress. But if you want to do your MBA because you want to grow, because you look at that ambition saying, okay, in 5 years, I want to make to this position. In 10 years, I want to be here. And you work towards it. You're making that, step-by-step progression. These things won't matter. And I remember one of the things that is amazing about Rotman, the first thing when we came to college, they asked us to prepare a cost-benefit analysis. So they basically said, you've paid these what, 100,000, 150,000, had you invested in stock market versus investing in an MBA, do you think you are going to come out of it? At what point in your career are you going to come out of it? When I first did it, I had a negative $1.1 million at the end of 60 years. And I was like, what have I done? Like, I could have just simply invested in stock market and I would have been $1.1 million richer when I was 60. But you don't anticipate all the other positives that come out of it. You get better progression because you have an MBA. The learning that you get, you apply in your job makes you a differentiator between somebody who doesn't have an MBA, right? You are much more structured. You learn about, how to do an Excel while doing this and combine those. You learn about problems. One of the things that Rotman teaches you and really forces on you is that you need to break down problems and you need to think about it saying, okay, am I looking at this big problem or am I looking at the small one and solving it? And then this small one and solving it. So those were the kind of learning that I got from my MBA that I wouldn't have had it without it. So I know how I used to deal with problems when I was pre-MBA versus how I deal with problems now, both in my work, both in my personal life. I don't, like before MBA, I never thought about money, right? I used to get my paycheck and then, oh, what's the new Apple phone that's launched? Go buy it, right? And now, as you grow, and not just because of MBA, but as you grow, you learn, okay, no, I need to save something. But those are something that obviously is talked about in your MBA. How do you save money? How do you, not directly, but inherently, it comes up. This guy made this money from $10 to $1,000 by investing in stock, but he didn't do it just by, randomly picking one stock. He did it structurally. He thought about what are the fundamentals of the firm. He did his research. And when you go do that with that MBA experience, you are much more structured. There is this risk averse versus, fairly risky things that you would do. And you would realize, oh, no, that's too risky. My MBA has taught me better. I cannot be that risky when it comes to my money. I need to be much more careful. 10%, I could be very risky. I could just throw away that money. I've saved it. That's completely my discretionary spending. I could throw that money away. And my fundamentals should be strong. I need to save this much. I need to, and those are the things that come up and that you learn from your MBA. So when the cost benefit analysis, just pure mathematically, doesn't really work out. Would I be 1.1 million richer had I not done my MBA? Probably not. I would have still spent on everything else and I would have come out of it zero. Right? Or I might have been in the same position, never earning or never getting the growth up to a certain point. I might have grown, I might have worked hard, but after a certain point, they would say, you don't have an MBA. I'm not really confident if you could be a VP of a firm. But now I have the confidence. I could go, yeah, I could, I think I could do it. I mean, there's nothing stopping me. I have my education to back me. I have my skills to back me. Nothing is stopping me from approaching a VP position or a partner position because you take away that fear in your MBA. You learn on how to get organized. You learn how to do it better. So pros and cons, yes and no. At the end of the day, money is money. It depends on your financial situation. Where do you want to be? But I would strongly suggest that if you want to spend money on something, then learning, there is nothing better than learning. You could invest in stocks. You could buy a house. You could, invest in whatever gold and just keep it aside. But nothing beats the learning aspect of it. That's the one thing that I would always suggest to people.
So a lot of people. So a lot of people coming from Indian IT background want to get to where you are now, and a lot of people are psychologically stopped, saying they don't know. There's no. So we are from a country where people take CAT. Nobody will question or ask for any essays, or communication is not that relevant, right?
Right.
And a lot of people don't know the real value of, don't know the real path to getting to a senior position in consulting, management consulting, strategy consulting. What suggestions do you have for Indian IT applicants who are, let's say, 10 years or 8 to 10 years behind you on how to get to where you are?
I mean, I'm not
Piece
claiming
by
to be an
piece.
expert.
People who think that they don't know where, whether I'm worthy of a top MBA. I come from this overrepresented pool. I don't think I
Right.
can get there. I don't think I belong there. And you're an example of 100% success. Like whatever you did, every school came through, every thing came through. What suggestions do you have for those people, piece by piece? What should they do at what time? How to get the entire game around, Sunil?
So one of the things, and I understand the aspect of the number of people who have that IT background in trying to, struggling through it and stuff like that. But one thing that I want to be very clear is your decision to do an MBA should not be about the fact that I am an IT guy and it should not be that I don't want to do this anymore, right? If you have that feeling that I don't want to do this job anymore, that's not a direct jump to I want to do an MBA. You not liking your job has nothing to do with your decision to do an MBA. I loved what I was doing. I enjoyed what I was doing when I was doing. The only reason was that I could see I was thinking about, okay, looking at my firm at that point of time and looking at the people who were above me in the hierarchy of things. I said, either I wait it out, like 20 years from now, I have this person who's 20 years older than me. I wait out my 20 years and become that guy, or I look at the guy who's above him, who has an MBA from Wharton, who's maybe 2 years older than me or 4 years older than me, and I go, do I be that guy, right? So, do I wait for 20 years to be a senior project manager or a group project manager, or do I wait 10 years to be a vice president or a senior vice president? And the answer is fairly simple. Why would I wait 20 years when I could do it in 10 years? That was my goal. That was my drive, right? I want to be successful, but the only way to be successful without just hierarchically moving up, just working hard, getting a promotion, working hard, getting a promotion, was that what is the fastest way to do it? Then obviously the answer is learning. You cannot move ahead if you don't learn. And that was fairly simple. And second thing, people often make this mistake. People assume that, I go in as an IT guy. I did that mistake. I remember the first thing was that I want to go into consulting. I want to go into strategy consulting. Nothing else, just strategy. Nothing else. But I didn't know strategy consulting. I can't be a strategy consultant. And same, I see a lot of people who have a background in HR, people who have a background in marketing, and everybody wants to get into strategy consulting, investment banking. But because it's high paying, it's the money that is your driver. It's not that I could do that work. And I, fortunately, when I had that background. I had that 6 years of technology experience. I wouldn't say call it consulting purely, but I had technology experience. Plus, in my work, I could think about, like, with the brag sheet and all the exercises that you do, you could think about examples where you solved a problem and you go, well, I did solve that problem. Even though I don't have a learning, I did solve that problem. Maybe if I have the right tools, I could have solved it within a day. Instead, it took me 3 months. Oh, you know what? Maybe if I had learned that, I could have solved it within a day. So your career is not like, it's not this just a straight line. You go IT, then MBA, and then go strategy, then cut and CEO. And it doesn't work like that. It's always a very sort of arc where you have to struggle through. You go do something, maybe it works out. You go do something else, maybe it doesn't work out. You take a step down, you go step up. Things happen. You need to be prepared, saying, if I'm an IT background and I'm looking at strategy consulting, you're not going to get hired into the top 3 firms right away because you are just that good. You need to work towards it. And the only way to work towards is not the 2 years of MBA program. It has to be inherent. Like I remember my first resume review with a senior who was in strategy consulting. I know how resume reviews happen. I have done resume reviews. I would just go, oh, this A is wrong, this B is wrong, correct this, correct that. But when I first went to a true strategy consultant and asked that person to review my resume, they actually broke it down. They said, you need to have 3 skills to be a strategy consultant. You need to be a leadership, you need to have analytical skills, and you need to be a team player. And they looked at my resume and they said, you've got everything is analytical skills. Nothing points to leadership. Nothing points to teamwork. And I go, nobody had explained it to me. Not just the fact that my resume didn't reflect it, the fact that that person was able to structure that resume into that way. So, which tells me that they live their life as a consultant. They live their, everything about them is so structured. They would probably answer, grocery shopping would be a nice structured list of this aisle, this aisle, this aisle. I don't do that. So how could I claim to be a strategy consultant when my personality doesn't reflect that? So unless and until you learn it, you incorporate it in your day-to-day work, and okay, I need, so for this interview, pre-you, I would have come in and given you an answer. I would have probably done okay. But pre my MBA, I had to write it down. I kept thinking, I was walking and I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, oh, what do I talk about? What are the points that I want to convey? What are the things that my experience tells me about? And it has to change you if you want to switch your career. It's not very simple. People often think as in the technology, I don't like this career, I want to move to a different career. It doesn't work. I'm still working in technology. I love it because that was what I've done. I'm comfortable. Now, of course, people are going to be like, oh, you need to try something new. Of course, you need to try something new, but you cannot try something new in a job. Nobody's going to give you a job to just try it out post your MBA, because post your MBA, you're not coming in at that staff or a junior level where it allows you to grow. You're coming in at a senior consultant. You're already coming in with an expectation that you have maybe a month to pick up and start running things. So if you have a month, I can't invent something. I can't go, I know everything about in a month. You need to just incrementally improve in a month. You can't magically change completely from being a normal person to a completely skilled, data architect in a month. It won't work. If I want to do artificial intelligence and machine learning is the buzzword now, tomorrow I can't just turn around and say, I'm going to do that. That doesn't work out, because you need to build that skill set. You need to apply those, show to the next person that I've already done my pre-work. I've already done this. Yes, that was not related to the data, but I applied these aspects of artificial intelligence in that. I did this bit of work. I did this, and incrementally show that over your career, you have grown enough that they would offer you a job at that point of time. So IT aside, all those people who are like, from the technology background, I would strongly tell them, everybody's different. You are not the guy next to you. If everybody was the same, they would be writing the same code and they would all be making the same mistake. There is one person who's capable of finding mistake. There is one person who's capable of writing complex code. There is one person who's into quality and making sure he finds the mistakes that other make. Everybody is different. You have to find that in you. I wasn't good at writing code. I never claimed to be. I was okay. I wasn't great at writing code. Same goes with, but I was really good at finding others' mistakes. I was good at like, that's wrong. I was good at that. I was good at talking to clients, understanding what clients mean when they say something, right? So that was my skill set. I wasn't a technology. My resume and everything talks about, I know Java, I know .NET. None of that matters, right? Technology is just a language. I mean, sure, it takes you time to learn that language, but it's just a language. All you need to do is communicate. It doesn't matter which language. You could be speaking in Hindi, I could be speaking in my mother tongue, but if I can do this and explain what I'm trying to get across to you, you would still understand. You wouldn't know the language, but you would say, oh, Sunil is angry and he's happy, and you would still relate to what I'm saying. So oftentimes we make a mistake of saying one singularly, I want to be IT and I want to do this. It's not a lateral jump that you could go from IT to management consulting or IT to investment banking. People who have been in investment banking, people I know of, they have worked their butt off in India, right? They've done their investment banking work in India. They've done BCom. They've gone through the whole stress of investment banking. They know exactly what to do. And in Rotman, when it comes to that, they were the ones who went in for an interview. They were the ones who would actually nail down the interview. not the ones who came in all of a sudden like me and said, I want to go into investment banking with no clue about what finance is, or no clue about what anything is. No, you can't do that. So we need to control our expectations. We need to make sure our expectations are aligned to what we expect. And our expectations should be all along, what am I good at? What areas should I improve on? And one of the things that you could do in your MBA if you want to switch your career is that you don't start once you join your MBA. You start before that. That's one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, was that oftentimes you get your admit in December, January, February, March. Your college starts in July. That's enough time. Which job do you?
I remember when I was actually running after you saying, let's do an interview, you brought in a very relevant point, Sunil. You said it's very important to talk about the process after you get an admit. Would love to hear your thoughts. What should we do?
Right.
What should the Indian applicants do after they have an admit till the time they join the program?
There is a lot. I regret everything that I haven't done during that time. Had I known, one thing, it's very simple. Imagine you having an internship in one of the top 3 firms, right? You are going to be, if you're good, you're going to be offered a full-time position after about a year, right? First year ends, you do your internship, you're good at it, they're going to make you an offer for a full-time after you join at second year. But that is going to be somewhere in August of that year, right? August of your first and second year. When I am trying to hire a next intern from the next batch, who do you think is the best person to say this guy is good? It's going to be the guy who's already done his internship, who's got a full-time offer. And if you don't know that person, if that person doesn't know you, if that person doesn't think that you have that desperation, you have that drive to join that firm, why would he recommend you? Right? So oftentimes we forget, like our seniors, the batch ahead of us, the couple of batches ahead of us, they are our recommendation. So first of all, like I said, if you're deciding to do your MBA from a particular college, you go through their firms that offer recruitment. Then simply put, you could go look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is great. Now it's much more fancier than it was 8 years back. Now you could go reach out to people and say, I want advice. Tell me, I have got an admit in this college. I see you have the same background. You got this college. What do I do to get to your position? I know a lot of people reach out to me who want to join MBA and they ask me the same question, saying, I'm got an admit at Rotman, but it doesn't work if you come to me in May of the year after the campus recruitment is already done, right? After, when you're about to graduate in May and you come to me in April and say, Sunil, can you give me a job in EY? I can't do much because campus recruitment doesn't work like that. Like campus recruitment is decided in the August of the previous year. But had you come to me during your MBA, shown me that you are very excited and you are really interested in joining EY, I have you in the back of my mind. You might not be fortunate enough to have a position when you graduate, but at least I remember. So when something happens, I would go, oh, this guy from Rotman reached out to me way back and he asked me these questions and he seems to be genuinely interested in this firm. Maybe I can help him. Maybe if not the job, at least I can help you with your resume. I can help you with a lot of stuff. So those are the things that needs to happen between the June month or May when you get your admit. Sometimes some people get admit in November. So for those, there is no excuse. If you get your admit in November, you have no excuse from November to the next year, July, when you join your pre-MBA, to be just sitting there saying, oh, I'm going to be an MBA, because you have a lot of time. You need to get out there, talk to people, say, you have done this, you have the same background. And everybody has a story. Everybody has done something that has gotten them to that position. Some people have taken a different route, and those people will tell you all the mistakes they made. Some people have taken the easier route where through campus they got placed. They will tell you the way that they did. So you need to do the same thing. Like it's not fair for somebody to expect, like, just before your graduation, if you reach out and saying, okay, can you give me a job to have some of these firms? I'm not talking about all the firms. Some of these firms have their, MBA recruitment happen way back. So for those people, it's very hard for me to help them. It's only for those who have been consistently reaching out. You need to start preparing yourself on your MBA life. You need to start preparing yourself on reaching out to your network of seniors and super seniors and graduates who have been there, gone through that, to say, what do I do? And some of the things that you could do is, and I'm not talking about like you could build your resume. Your resume pre-MBA, post-MBA is completely different. I threw out, like, I remember the resume that you and I worked so hard on. First thing I was told when I came to my MBA was throw it out, because that is not you anymore. You know what I mean? Like, once you do your MBA, this, I know Java, I know, these things are not you at that point of time. You would be like, I know this industry. I know this industry. I know the value of an business, right? Those are it's completely structurally different when resume comes after your MBA. So you could start getting ahead of it. You have case competitions. You need to prepare. How do I write a PPT? How do I present my thought? Go online, read your presentation, because once you start your MBA, it's going to be go, go, go. It's going to be presentation after presentation after presentation. And I come in with a background with no presentation experience. I'm going to be struggling with all the other people who have that. They're going to spend 30 minutes on presentation and 2 days on content. I'm going to spend 1 day on content and 1.5 days on presentation. So imagine who's going to be benefiting out of this. So Excel skills, right? There are tons of courses on YouTube, all these Udemy courses, everything is available for people now. So I find it hard for people to have an excuse saying, I don't know Excel, because you got your admit in November. You know you need to use Excel. There's no excuse. You need to know PowerPoint, no excuse. So there is a lot of things you could do. And you need to reach out to your seniors to say, what is it that you do that, would help me? What do I learn? I'm not going to tell you need to learn, you need to go join a course. You need to go join NIIT or any of that courses on formal education. I'm going to tell you that go to YouTube, go to Khan Academy, go to any of those, learn these things so that your resume becomes better. Because oftentimes when we write our MBA resume, we write a 2-pager. When you go to MBA, post MBA, your resume is 1 page. That's it. It's 1 page, particularly in investment banking, in consulting, it's all 1 page. So I need to condense everything, all the information I have into 1 page. Plus, I need to show what I did in my MBA. And it helps if you have a 6 months advantage over everybody else to put that in your resume. I've done this, I know this tool. And the only way you can do it is either reach out to the seniors who've done it. If you don't have that, and oftentimes you don't have seniors who are in your dream firm, you could go look at their job posting. What does the job posting say for MBA campus recruitment? And you would say, oh, these are the things. Does my resume talk about these things? And you would go, even IT guys, like even guys who are from the technology background, who want to go into strategy consulting, would look at it and go, I'm talking about all Java and this talks about business. There is a gap.
Yeah.
It's very, I mean, it's easy for me to say, and I don't claim to have done all of these things, but in hindsight, thinking about it, I could have done all those things. I might have been in a much better position. I am, who knows? Or I might have been in one much worse position than I am. I'm just fortunate where I am. I'm glad where I am. I'm happy where I am. But you could be there too. You could be at a better position than me if you do all these things. You could definitely be in a much, much better position than I am if you could just put those extra 6 months time.
So a follow-up question, and this will be my last question for you. I know I have you on the clock for like an hour. I get a certain category of applicants now that we avoid. There are people who think that it's like an outsourcing process. The moment you get to work with Jatin and they say, all right, this is it. I can't write an essay. I've had somebody who said, I'm not much of an essay person, Jatin. Figure out. With a humble request, I don't think I'll be able to solve. You need to invest equally and you need to really, really grow. What do you think will happen to that category of applicants if they by chance make it to one of the top programs just because they outsourced a process and somebody helped them get a lucky shot at one of the top schools. And if somebody can't even write an essay, what would happen to somebody like that, Sunil?
Oh, they're going to struggle a lot. I'm so grateful for the work that we did together because like you said, I was of the same mentality saying, why do I have to do the work again? Like, why am I working on this? But this is, oh my God, I have to write an essay for 500 words. Like, really? But it is everything that they do in an MBA program, right? These are people who have seen, they've recruited thousands of students. They've gone through this exercise. Everything they do is a reason. They don't put you through an interview question just for, just to ask you about, how your communication skills are. They don't care. They don't look at your essay and go, oh, is this vocabulary correct? Does he use all the fancy words? They don't care. Like, all these things don't matter. What matters is that ethics, right? Like, it's basically saying, does he tell a story? And that helps a lot. When I'm writing my 500 word essay in my MBA, I would go look at that essay and say, this is how it should be structured. I did a lot of my work in my MBA. I often reflected back on the work that I already did and I took it. Like for example, there was an exercise in one of my courses to tell me about yourself exercise through video. And amazing as it is, I cannot magically come up with an idea, but I had my brag sheet. I had that pre-work done already by me. It's not something that I have to go, look up in an email and figure it out. But I had that in the back of my mind. I have a brag sheet. Let me use that. I wrote it. It's in my language.
The same one that was created. That's the same one okay.
So I had that material that I wrote and I go, oh, this is what I wrote. Maybe I can use this story. I have forgotten about that story. I forgot about the time that I helped a client do this work. Even in my interview, when I was prepping for my final interview, I went back to the brag sheet. That brag sheet is my go-to guide on all my stories. Unfortunately, I haven't updated it in the past few years, and I'm obviously not trying to do interviews now, but that is my brag sheet is my go-to book because I have stories from my childhood. I have stories about my parents. I have stories about my family. I have so many stories there. It couldn't have come from you. It couldn't have come from anybody else, right? It's very easy to say that, Jatin, build a story for me about a time when I worked hard, and you would go, oh, okay. And I know a lot of people who do that. Like in YouTube, you have videos which says, oh, this story, you can build hard work like this. And there are videos about doing that. But when you look at it and you go, that's what these people make a mistake. And that is something that brings me back to the first point about interviews, is the consistency of message. One of the examples that I would, that I really, think is good is people make mistakes in the interview in this very, very easy way. One of the easiest mistakes to make in an interview is like, teamwork and hard work, and you use that as your strength. One example that I can give is that often people use this phrase, attention to detail, as their strength. Great, that's a great strength. But when they write their resume, they write attention to details. Okay. And now if you are writing it for me and you write attention to detail, when I'm writing it, I write attention to details in my resume. That itself tells me that I don't have attention to detail. But the core context there is the fact that I'm focused. When you write attention to details, your resume, I would just throw it out. I would go, well, this guy doesn't have attention to detail. The one thing he's claiming he has, he doesn't have it. Obviously there is one small lie. It's a mistake, and grammatically it's correct. Attention to details is still fine, but this is when you talk about details, it's not a context, it's a mass, it's a volume, right? It's a lot of things. So you make sure you have all the you pay attention to all the details is a term that you would use where they are asking you to focus on all the things, but you have to focus on each to be able to focus on everything. You can't focus on go back and say, I'm going to. So those are the kind of mistakes that people would make in interviews. They would say something like about, oh, I'm good at teamwork. And they would say, I would yell at my team. It doesn't jive. I know I attended an interview where I remember, which was something that I didn't get during my internship in MBA, was what they did was they just printed out from Google 100 interview questions. It took me an hour. They just went through line by line, 100 interview questions. And I was, at some point, I was just exhausted. And I was like, after 20 questions, I said, I don't want this job. Like, I knew I didn't want this job. Just not to be rude, I just sat through the whole interview, gave them all 100 answers. But looking back, each of those interview processes helped me grow and learn, saying that you need to understand the message that you want to give. Who are you as a person? What do you bring to the table? Because whatever you bring to the table, if the firm doesn't want it, you're not going to be successful in the firm. You're not going to be successful in your college. The college doesn't want 10 IT guys. The reason they don't want 10 IT guys is because they think all of them are thinking about the same thing. They think in the same way. In my during your MBA program, during group projects, you wouldn't have 10 IT guys together working on a project. And we have never been successful when all your friends band together to do a work. You wouldn't be successful because you all think alike. It's the team that matters, is the team that is different. You have people from different countries who bring completely different perspective. And you would go back when you're doing your assignments with a group of people, you would go, I would have never thought of it had this person not gone through it in his personal life in this different country. And us as Indians, us as IT guys, we bring a perspective, which is I'm not saying any less valuable than anybody else, but we need to hold on to it. We need to be proud that I'm coming from a culture which teaches me all these things and helps me learn all these things. And my background as a technologist has taught me that I need to be good at these things. I need to be able to navigate all the challenges in my MBA program. And if you feel like you could get a pass, you get lucky by just having somebody else do the work for you, you would be lucky. Like you said, you would get into top colleges, but once you come in there, you're going to get hurt in your assignments. You're going to get hurt in your group projects. Say you're lucky there itself. Somehow you're a sweet talker. You get through that. Once you go to a job, you're going to meet somebody like me, where somebody is sweet talking and not doing the work. I'm going to notice that guy. I'm going to be like, well, this guy just talks. He doesn't. Have I ever seen him work? It just talks. Great, but when I'm recommending somebody to be promoted, or when I'm recommending somebody to move ahead, or giving them opportunities, who do you think I would choose? I wouldn't choose the guy who just talks. Well, great, he's going to talk, but I need the work done. I need people who are part of who are my colleagues, who are my peers, or I want to give opportunities for people who are actually going to work, learn things, not somebody who's just going to talk about it. So yes, there are people who are successful, by doing a lot of things, by having somebody else do it for them. But there is always a ceiling. There is somebody out there who's going to be on top of you, who's gotten there by hard work, who's not gotten there by getting freebies. That when you hit that person, that's the maximum you're going to grow. So sure, luck. And I would honestly end it with this. I have been very lucky, very fortunate. A lot of things that have happened in terms of my pre-MBA, in terms of my MBA, post-MBA, have some element of luck. So to everybody who feels that, what if I don't get it, or who's afraid of taking on this challenge, if you do it, you could be lucky. You're going to struggle, but there is that coin toss, 50% chance that you're going to hit ahead, and it's always 50-50. You're going to be lucky once, you're not going to be lucky once. But my dream company, or one of the companies that I was really interested in joining during my MBA, did not even call me for an interview. I was so disappointed. But I met somebody from that firm a few months back, and they were asking me, saying, hey, does your firm have opportunities? And I go, you were working on the firm that I once wanted to work for. I'm so glad I didn't get that job. So everything, you always think, differently, and when it comes to everything, but I would say, put in your work, and you would get lucky. You would definitely get lucky if you just, but if you don't put in your work, you could still get lucky, because the luck doesn't change. But there is, when that luck doesn't work out, you're going to fall equally bad, because there's nobody going to be around to help you. At that point of time, people are going to be like, you do your own work. I don't care. Why would I help somebody who's never helped me? Right? So I guess that's it.
I learned two things from you today, Sunil. About my process when I used to use brag sheet, I used to think that sheet is for me to know people. I didn't know that that sheet is also helping people know themselves. I didn't know this. That's
It
fun.
does. It does, because when else do you look at that for yourself, right? I mean, of course, you would know me as a person reading that, but writing that brings up stories. You would go, oh my God, I remember that guy was crazy. I managed that person. He was crazy. How did I do that? That's a learning. If I could manage that crazy person, I could manage anybody else who's normal. I could manage anybody else. There is nobody, and then as you go in your career, you meet crazier people. But at least having that experience, having written that down, saying, "Oh, this is how I manage that crazy person. I could manage this crazy person as well." So, I mean, honestly, I love that brag sheet. I love the concept of going back, looking at your story, trying to build your own brand, build your own story, and eventually, uh, you know, using that at every point of your career to look back and say, you know what, I've done well. I've done, even on days when you don't feel like, is my career going in the right direction? Am I working hard enough? Am I making progress? You look back at that sheet and go, you laugh at certain things, right? I still laugh at certain stories I've written there. And so that is such a small thing. I have done much, much better than those things. And you go, yeah, I've made progress from there, from where I was 9 years back to now. I've definitely made progress, and that is what keeps you growing. I know I was reading something recently where somebody said, whoever in 2015 said where you would be in 5 years from now was wrong. And that's true. 5 years from now, nobody anticipated in 2015 that they would be here at home, working from home, or looking for a job. But that's how it happens. But that doesn't diminish anything that you have done in the past 4 years. Whatever you've done either helps you when you are here. Like I'm fortunate enough to have a job. I'm fortunate enough to have a job where I can work from home. I'm not a doctor. I'm not an essential services guy putting my life at risk. And so I have no regrets, nothing, no regrets. That's all I feel like, coming down to at this in 2020 and looking back and seeing what all the decisions I've made, career wise. I mean, of course I have other regrets, but career wise, and maybe I could have done better, but you know what? There are a lot of people who haven't done as much as I have. And maybe I've done better than certain people. At least that's a plus. And to be honest, a lot of people have done better than that. When they graduated out of MBA, they didn't expect where they would be in 6 years. And all those people are much better in 6 years. Everybody is grown. Everybody, all my friends, every one of people who I've graduated with have done amazingly well when they have put in the effort. People who haven't done amazingly well, they haven't put in the effort. It's not because of luck. It's not because of, opportunities. It's just that they have luck sure has helped in certain instances, but it's all about the work. It's that luck is that last 10%, but the 90% of it was just working hard, just putting in that effort, making sure you're doing, making sure you're just not talking, you're just not having somebody else do your work, putting in that late night hours, working, burning the midnight oil, drinking that 2 a.m. Red Bull to finish that corporate finance assignment. I might not remember what that assignment talked about, but I do remember that I could at some point spend 24 hours without any sleep. So when it comes down to now, and I have to do an work, or I have to do some work where I have to work 24 hours, I don't for a second think I can't do it. I've done it before. I know I could do it again. Right. So it's very hard to sort of put it to words.
When I come to Canada next, is the beer on you or on me?
It's on me. It's 7 beers. We'll start talking after your 7th beer.
100%. It was very nice running into you in life, Sunil.
Thank you so much.
I feel very, very proud
to
see people like you grow.
Thank you so much. I think I owe a lot to your help.
No, sir. No.
I was at a point of time where I didn't know what to do. I wasn't trying to get ahead by having somebody help. I was trying to I like you said at the start, was that when I don't know something, I ask people who know better than me. And even in my job, even in everything I do, I ask people to help me out because somebody has done it better than me. There's nobody better than, so there is this two sides of it. Nobody's better than you, and nobody's less or worse than you. So it's always that everybody brings in something, and you learn along the way that, there are certain things that you tell me with your experience that I, as a technology guy, would never know. And I'm just thankful for all the help.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you for taking time out. Your interview is 24 karat gold for a lot of people from technology background. You don't know this.
I definitely hope it helps. I definitely hope it helps somebody.
Thank you. And with this, we are signing off.